Hello, I'm David Currie and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. All the news, views and analysis you need on Tuesday, the 2nd of December. And checks phone alerts. We're still waiting on a new manager at Celtic Park.
Well, I thought it was going to be my last game, and then I got news yesterday. But there's a good, strong possibility that I will still be in charge for Wednesday evening.
Waiting for Wilfried. The saga of Wilfried Nancy's appointment continues. So it looks like Martin O'Neill's swan song will be against Stephen Presley's Dundee tomorrow.
Oh, that looks like that's it! Wrapped up by Dundee. It's a brilliant hit. Dundee, it looks like they're getting a much needed 3 points. What a goal.
The men from Dens ended a dismal run by beating the Buddies at the weekend. And one side who've been in top form are Motherwell.
We just want to keep getting good performances and then make sure that the performance leads to the right result for us. And come game 33 and 38, that's when we can really see the league table.
We'll preview their meeting with fellow disruptors Falkirk.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Hello, welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast with today's guest Stephen McGowan, Herald football writer at large. What a title! And Cillian Sheridan, former striker of a third of the Premiership clubs. Stephen, you're starting for 10. Can you name them?
Name Cillian's clubs?
Aye. 4 of them.
Well, it's only 25 minutes long, this podcast. So.
in the Premiership. Current Premiership clubs. Cillian, can you name them?
Yeah, I think I could. Could it be Celtic, Motherwell, Kilmarnock?
Begins with a D. Dundee, in fact,
yeah.
Here's the thing. I think the last time I saw you playing was for Dundee at the Smythe Stadium, and I think you were carried off, injured.
Yeah, stretchered off. That was the beginning and the end of I would say, my Dundee career.
Right, lads, let's dive in. Plenty to get into with Stephen and Cillian. We'll start with Celtic. No Nancy announcement. My pronunciation at the start of the programme wasn't the best, but I've committed to it now. Nancy. Stephen, what's the hold-up?
Very good question. Of course, I mean, Martin O'Neill says his paperwork, and it's a good thing Martin O'Neill's saying something because no one else is. It's interesting. I mean, recently the Celtic Fans Collective, who are obviously unhappy with the Celtic board, had a real go at the club for the lack of communication, and I think that's been exemplified by the fact that you have the interim manager pretty much announcing who the new coach is going to be on Sky Sports and on Talk Sport. Now, I'm not criticising Martin O'Neill for that. That's certainly not his fault, but we've not heard a word from the Chief Executive, Michael Nicholson, other than a certainly scripted interview with Celtic TV. The head of football operations, Paul Tisdale, has done no media whatsoever since he arrived in Scotland. He, we believe, is kind of the one pushing and recommending Wilfried Nancy. And I think there'll be fingers pointed at him if this doesn't work out. But at the moment, we're waiting for it to be confirmed, to be unveiled. We believe this is going to be Martin O'Neill's last game against Dundee. But
that before.
He said that before. Yeah, absolutely. I think probably it will be this time. I mean, it's going to be interesting if Nancy comes straight in and goes straight into a table-topping clash against Hearts. After that, obviously, there's a Europa League game against Roma. So it's a baptism of fire, but that's why you get the big bucks, I suppose.
You missed out the third part of that trilogy, the League Cup final as well, Stephen.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. It was a remiss of me on that part. But yeah, it's a big start. But I mean, the big question will be in the Celtic fans' mind, well, if it's not broken, why are they fixing it? I mean, Martin O'Neill, obviously, I think if you look objectively at the two CVs, Martin O'Neill would have a stronger CV, but he's 73 now. Does he want to be there? I think he would probably fancy a gig to the end of the season. I think fans would be in favour of that, but it looks like Celtic are committing to Wilfried Nancy at this stage.
So you think, sorry, before I come to you, Cillian, you think that might be the plan B, just to keep things going if whatever the digital delay or the paperwork problem is doesn't get solved?
Yeah, of course it would be the plan B, but I think that would be unthinkable for them. I mean, the longer this goes on, the more fans start fretting about an Eddie Howe scenario. I don't think that's justified at this stage. I think it is just paperwork, visa issues and so on. But, it's never signed until it's signed, is it? And that's always going to be the question mark.
As a player, Cillian, does this sort of dithering, does that impact the team?
I don't think it does too much. It can if results probably weren't going as good as they are for them now on the pitch. That's when kind of then you start to look all around and you start to question kind of what's happened. But I think the fact it's gone so well for the board, I think, so far. Like in terms of Martin O'Neill came in, they were under massive pressure, and he just steadied the ship. Everyone's kept ticking over. Come in, had good results, and it's kind of probably bought them time to kind of go and do everything the right way that they would have wanted to do it. It'd be different if Martin O'Neill came in and perhaps started to struggle. Results weren't going the way fans would have wanted, and then everything just all gets a little bit rushed. But I think if you're looking at it right now, it's went as good as it could have went for them.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Stephen, the way this kind of appointment's been, it's almost as if it's been teased out, the delay, then another delay, so that when it does happen, it becomes almost like a relief for Celtic fans, and the naysayers aren't too bothered about. Maybe they thought, maybe Nancy's not the person for this job, but now they're thinking, no, just get somebody in.
Well, I think people had resigned themselves and got used to the idea of Wilfried Nancy coming in. Look, I mean, we can't be. I mean, I've been saying for long enough that they need new ideas, they need new impetus. The club seems a bit stale, so they're going to get that. I think what's put the slight seeded out into fans' mind is just how much things have improved under Martin O'Neill. You know, they're winning that away game in Feyenoord and so on, and you know, he's a manager who has a lot of affection in the minds of the fans anyway. And I understand that they will want to get a permanent manager in and start get cracking with the rebuilding of the squad in January. But how much can they realistically do in January? And how much scouting of Wilfried Nancy type players will they have done at this point? So there's definitely logic for O'Neill hanging on to the summer and for bringing in a manager in the summer. But it looks like that ship has sailed. It looks like it's going to happen. And Nancy will be thrown in very much at the deep end.
Let's assume, Cillian, that Nancy's first game is against Hearts, then he's got Roma, then he's got some in the League Cup final. Does he come in and does he change anything to begin with?
I don't know. I think from seeing, I don't know much about him other than the interviews and stuff I've seen of him, and he does seem to be quite his own person. I think he'll probably come in and try and stamp his own authority on things. But it's a weird one for him probably because you do want to come into a good team and inherit a good team, a team winning. But then if he comes, while Celtic are doing well now, he comes in and he's like, do I change too much? Like, I don't want to come in and disrupt things and then kind of go backwards on it. So I think it'd just be down to him, whatever his style of play, his philosophy on it all.
Well, it's interesting, Cillian, because I mean, we're told by all the North American experts his preferred formation is 3-4-3, a 3-4-2-1. You know, with two kind of number 10 types behind the striker. So what then happens to the wingers? I mean, do you start ripping? Do you throw the baby out of the bathwater right away, or do you wait a bit longer? I think that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, it's a little bit similar to when like Brendan Rodgers came in after Ange, and it's like the team was so successful. Does he come in and then try and completely change it and go back to his style of play to what the players were suited to? So it's be interesting to see how he handles the first few months, or like how much he really wants to implement his own style of play on the team.
Well, tomorrow night is Dundee for Celtic. Probably Martin O'Neill's swan song. Dundee stung Celtic earlier in the season, Cillian, but it's a much taller order at Celtic Park. Or can they spring another surprise?
I don't think so, no. But they've just they've probably had a very strange season where they'll go on bad runs and then they'll just produce a result out of nowhere that just kind of keeps, I think, the naysayers off Stephen Presley's back, I would say, where he's probably under a lot of pressure, and then they come away with a big result like the one at St Mirren there, and just kind of probably buys him more time and settles everything a little bit. But I think it's a different story going away to Celtic Park rather than playing at Dens. I'd be surprised if they got anything, to be honest. I think giving everything that's around us, you're kind of starting to see Hearts dropping points. Celtic are gaining. There seems to be much more confidence around the place, and I don't really see anything other than Celtic winning easily as well.
I thought win at the weekend, Stephen, certainly keeps the Dundee season interesting.
Yeah. That was the first time, I think, in over a year they'd come back from losing the first goal and winning a game. So that was a big win for them. And they did it in a bit of style, a bit of fortune, obviously, when Gogic puts through his own net and what have you. But no, I mean, it's a big result for Stephen Presley. I mean, I went to see Stephen Presley a few weeks ago and he admitted there were times when he's struggling to enjoy the job. There's been a lot of kind of...
It sounds like it, doesn't it, when he does his interviews?
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, I think he said that when he agreed to take it, he didn't realise how much dissent it was going to be for supporters. And it was only after he'd agreed to take it that Gordon Strachan said to him, by the way, this is the hardest job in Scottish football. He says, I wish you'd told me that before I took it. So I mean, it is a really difficult situation he's in. And
his interviews are great, though. He's actually he's refreshingly honest.
Is
a fault.
Is he too honest, Cillian?
Probably, yeah. But then, people say that's what they want until it actually happens, and then they get it. And he's actually maybe a little bit too honest here. But I enjoy listening to him before and after games all the time.
Well, do you remember Scotland played Italy under Alec McLeish? I think it was for the Euros. I'm trying to remember when it was, about 17 years ago, 18 years ago. And Scotland lost 2-1. There was a dodgy refereeing decision towards the end of the game, and Elvis, I was sitting beside him at that Hampden, and everyone was berating the ref, and afterwards he just said to me, I thought the referee had a good game, and I thought, just honest to a fault. That's Right, so that's Celtic Dundee tomorrow. On to, as promised, guys, Motherwell, aka the best footballing team in Scotland. That's according to Scott Allen. Would you two agree with that description, Cillian, first of all?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing attractive football. I've watched a little bit of the game against Hibs, although it was a little bit skewed because Hibs were down to 10 men, but a good team to watch. Don't mind putting them on and watching a game. So looking forward, it should be a good game. Them against Falkirk, who I probably have to... I'm eventually going back on my words and admitting defeat. That I've said Falkirk would struggle this season, and they haven't at all so far. So I kept waiting for them to falter a little. So I'm admitting defeat in that one. I think they won't struggle this season.
Do you agree with this Scott's analysis that they're the best footballing team in Scotland, Stephen?
I haven't actually seen enough of them in person to make a judgment on it. I think what's great about Motherwell and Falkirk is it's just two managers being true to themselves, really. Because, and it's interesting because we're talking about Wilfried Nancy and the culture shock. Well, I very much doubt that Berto Askew knew a great deal about Scottish football either when he came, but he just came in and he said, no, we're not going to do the putting 11 men behind the ball. We're going to play our game. And you look at John McGowan, he does exactly the same. And they go against the grain and they're getting the rewards for it. And it's really good to see. And it's refreshing because, I mean, who realistically saw Motherwell being third in the Premiership after 14 games? Above Hibernian, above Rangers. Might only be in goal difference in the case of Rangers. But, I mean, I think it's been an absolute breath of fresh air. You've got players like Maswinise, Elijah Just... just guys like what? I mean, guys who are really playing really nice, good football when nobody saw it coming. So I think it's been great for the Premiership, personally.
I suppose they started off, Cillian, they were playing this lovely football. I went to see them first game of the season against St Mirren, and I was prepared for a physical encounter. And they passed St Mirren off the field, but they couldn't score. It ended 0-0. They seem to have added goals of late, and that's what's propelling them up the table.
Yeah, I think there was this... I say they struggled, but it's just the fact they couldn't get wins. They couldn't convert style of playing well into wins. So they were getting all these plaudits for having a good style of play, but then the one thing people could throw back at them was, yeah, but they're not winning games. They still can get all these compliments on style of play and everything, but you need to win. And then I think once that turned, and all these chances they were creating, to start converting them, and then suddenly they're winning games by a few goals, and then the style of play looks even better. So again, it's fair play to the manager and players as well for sticking to it and trusting in how he wants them to play and how they want to do.
What would you say? What would you say, Cillian, his secret sauce is then for that team?
Probably, I don't know, probably like just belief in their style of play. I think it's probably could have been easier for them to revert back to old ways when they weren't getting the results. But the fact he's stuck by it, believes in his style of play, and his philosophy on football, and he's stuck to it. The players have clearly bought into it. I would imagine it's a team that you'd enjoy playing for and enjoy playing in. And it just, at the minute, looks like a really good place to be at.
They've signed well. They've signed well. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to my colleague Graham McGarry, who's a big Motherwell fan. He was saying that, we talk a lot about Hearts signing players on data. Well, Motherwell have done that as well, actually. Maybe not as high profile, but, you look at guys, signings like, Justin Longo and what have you, and they have made good signings, and that's half the battle for any manager, isn't it?
Yeah, one of those signings, Stephen Welsh, impressive at the back for the Steelmen on loan from Celtic. I remember when he signed, I was along at the presser, and he said, well, Brendan Rodgers made it clear there was no really any place for me in the first team. He's shone there. Motherwell, you'd think, would want to make that deal permanent, but maybe the new Celtic manager might take him back.
You never know. I mean, look, I think Stephen Welsh is caught in this kind of no man's land, isn't he? Where there's this perception that he's not quite at Celtic first team level, but he's probably above the rest of the Scottish Premiership with Celtic Rangers. So, I mean, there was a lot of talk about him going to Italy or going abroad to Udinese and things I think he was linked with before. So maybe a look in that direction, but he's, by all accounts, he's been outstanding for Motherwell. Really terrific. Good for him.
You mentioned Maswanisa leading the scoring charts, but he's off to the African Cup of Nations shortly. That'll be a miss, Cillian.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's popping up with goals nearly every other week. Keep seeing his name appear. And again, it'll be up to, but imagine trying maybe bring someone in to cover that, or that's that double-edged sword thing of if you're a club like Motherwell and your players are doing well, inevitably a better club's going to come in and take them away. So if it's not, I know it's for the African Cup of Nations, but if it wasn't that, there's still, I would imagine he will have other clubs interested in him, where I think they'd probably do well just to keep him anyway.
So Motherwell only lost a couple of times in the Premiership this season. The most recent defeat, I was just having a wee look through the results earlier this morning. A defeat 2-1 to Falkirk for part of the other defeat by Celtic, and they play Falkirk tomorrow. Stephen Falkirk, John McGlynn. I know it's early, but this is manager of the season material again, is it not?
Well, I know these things are embargoes. I better watch what I say, but I was at a manager of the month dinner last night, panel of experts, and it was fair to say, I don't think it's betraying any state secrets to say John McGlynn was very high in the conversation. I mean, I think it's been brilliant, really. I mean, I was out seeing Leon McCann, kind of left back, and we were talking about himself and Aidan Nisbet, and there's 2 or 3 players who are survivors from League One.
Aye.
They've come all the way up from League One through the Championship to the Premiership. They've maintained that style of football. They have refused to compromise. And I think John McGlynn is getting his recognition and getting his rewards. And, you look at guys like Calvin Miller who are having outstanding seasons. And it's, you're looking and thinking, will they finish in the top 6? Which I think realistically people would have been talking about Falkirk at the beginning of the season, maybe relegation contenders. As Cillian alluded to earlier, no one's talking about that now, are they? I mean, it's been a tremendous performance so far.
Have you enjoyed their progress, Cillian?
Yeah, no, it's nice to see a team that's come in and stick to their belief. Players have clearly bought into John McGlynn's way of working, I think, which is one of the things that I think is different to other places. I know a lot of people talk about he's very big on small details and to do a lot of video stuff, and even recently was talking to one of their players, and they were saying how when Scotty Arfield came in, John McGowan was like, I don't really care who you are, I'm not changing anything. Like, I don't think he was used to the hour and a half video meetings. And John McGowan was like, well, that's how it works. And he's bought into it as well. So it's just it's good to see. Like I said earlier, I did tip them thinking that they'd struggle, but they've just continued on how they have for the last 2 years and just keeps on. I think it just shows you structure and a well-run club. Good manager style of play. Kind of, if you believe in it, it does. You do get the benefits of it, the success of it.
You like hour and a half long video meetings, Cillian? Is that your kind of bag?
I don't mind them. Yeah, like see when you go into a game and you know you've got every base has been covered. It kind of takes away any excuses. There's nothing, no surprises. Everyone knows their role. Everyone knows that's why it makes it a lot easier to play in a team. So if you know ball's coming out to you, whatever, midfield or fullback, you already know from how much work you've done in the build up to a game or whatever, that a player's going to be over there. I know I can just play it first time. So sometimes it can look like, it can make players look a lot better, where they just know that I can play a ball first time around the corner, and I just know a player's going to be there because we've worked on it and it's been drilled into us so much. And you definitely do see the benefits of it on the pitch.
Well, they certainly got Rangers' number, Stephen. Drew with them at the weekend. Disappointed to be leaving Ibrox with a point, but they got a point against them early in the season as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a fluke. It's not a fluke. It's a result of hard work. And it's funny because it's almost like they've kind of, Falkirk away you might expect St Mirren to be, St Mirren away you might have expected Falkirk to be at the start of the season. But it is such a tight league. You get below the first couple of places, and really anybody can beat anybody, and it's so unpredictable as Falkirk are showing.
Well, the big question is, though, will they be able to keep this going for the rest of the season? What's your intuition on this, Cillian?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think they've proven that if you go back 2 years ago, they won League One, they go up to the Championship. People are probably wondering, can they continue it up into the Championship? They do. They won that easy. Then they come up again, and it's probably the same questions. Can they continue it? And that's where I was kind of thinking, well, surely not. But they have. They've just continued. It's and fair play, credit to John McGlynn, the players as well. And it just seems to be a place where everyone's really bought into each other and they all trust what everyone's doing. And basically, what makes it all easier is when you are getting the results and you can see, oh, we are actually benefiting off this. It works, and it's a lot easier for them all to buy into it, I think.
How do you think they'll go on in Europe next season, Stephen?
I think John McGowan would be horrified by that kind of talk at this stage. But I mean, I think he's right. I mean, people keep expecting the bubble to burst, and at some point you're going to have to say, maybe the bubble's not going to burst. Maybe they will get that top six finish the way they're going just now.
Well, I'm afraid, folks, our bubble is well and truly burst for today, because that's all we've got time for. Many thanks to Stephen and to Cillian, and most of all, folks, to you for listening. Remember, the Scottish Football Podcast is available bright and early every day, so to make sure you don't miss out, subscribe on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on in your phone. Have a good one. Mind how you go.
It's petty, it's ill-informed.
Are President Trump's cuts having an adverse effect on research?
It's pandemonium.
What number's that in the periodic?
PD, number 47. I don't know.
I've done the shooting clays before. The longer you do it, the sorer obviously it gets.
When Craig said there he'd been shooting the clays, I imagined him out a back line. Somebody's washing,
William Shatner, his secretary, contacted me to say, when Bill has a question now and again, can he contact you? And then one time he called me up and he wanted to know, David, what is a photon? I'm thinking, this is incredible. Captain Kirk wants to know what a photon is,
I once met a guy who referred to a globe as a bomb app. A ball map.
A ball map.
Look at the ball map. What we normally do is spin the ball map and we see where we go on holiday.
The Off the Ball podcast, available every Monday on BBC Sounds.